So here in the United States, tomorrow, assuming you're listening to this on the day it publishes, is Thanksgiving, sometimes referred to as Turkey Day. So first of all, happy early Thanksgiving to my U.S. listeners. In honor of that holiday, it seems appropriate to talk about turkeys. Although, to be fair, I did do an episode about turkeys already, but also to be fair, it was episode 8, so that was like 4 years ago. So I feel like it's safe to revisit Mealagris gallopavo, the wild turkey. I'm your host, Tim the Nature Nerd O'Hara, and this is the Dispatches from the Forest podcast. Now, turkey is the centerpiece of most Thanksgiving dinners, at least here in the United States. I mean, they're big enough to feed the entire extended family, and they're pretty tasty, whether you deep fry them or stuff them and roast them. But what exactly are these birds that get so much attention on Thanksgiving? Well, wild turkeys are an upland game bird native to North America, and just for the record, upland just means that they live in terrestrial areas with a lot of ground cover, as opposed to primarily in or near wetlands or riparian areas like, say, ducks or geese. And game bird means that people hunt and eat them, although that said, in some states here in the United States, crows, doves, and pigeons are considered game birds, just to name a few. And I seriously doubt anyone is serving up crow on Thanksgiving or otherwise. The preferred habitat for wild turkeys is hardwood and mixed conifer hardwood forests with scattered openings like pastures, fields, orchards, and even seasonal marshes. But that said, they're very adaptable, and they can live anywhere that has a dense native plant community as long as they have coverage and also openings widely available. And this includes urban areas. In fact, about a month ago, I was in Bronxville, New York, one of the boroughs of New York City, visiting my child in college, and I saw a large flock of wild turkeys. Now, turkeys are a member of the diverse order of birds collectively known as Galliformes, which includes chickens, quails, pheasants, and grouse. But not only that, turkeys are the heaviest member of this order. Adult males, known as toms or gobblers, average about 17 pounds, 7.7 kilograms. Females, called hens, weigh about 9.5 pounds, 4.3 kilograms. According to the National Wild Turkey Federation, wild turkeys weighing over 30 pounds, 13.5 kilograms, are uncommon. But that said, the record size for a wild tom is just over 37 pounds, 16.8 kilograms. Domestic turkeys, of course, are generally much heavier than their wild cousins, averaging closer to 30 pounds, 13.5 kilograms, and maxing out at a mind-boggling 86 pounds, 39 kilograms. Now, I'm thinking that an 86-pound turkey only gets eaten if it wants to. But domestic turkeys are only that big because we humans have bred them that way for our own benefit. We want all that good meat. I think we're so used to seeing domestic turkeys, the most common breed of which is called the broad-breasted white and is, well, white, or frozen turkey already plucked and ready to eat, that we don't give much thought to the plumage of a wild turkey. But if you've ever seen a wild turkey, you know that they're beautiful birds, toms in particular. Their wing feathers are generally dark gray or black with white stripes, and the tail feathers of an adult tom can have areas of red, purple, green, copper, bronze, and even gold iridescence. And there's a lot of feathers on a turkey. An adult turkey sports somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,500 feathers. Now, toms are usually larger than hens, but unless the males are displaying their large fan-shaped tails, toms with their tails folded and hens look fairly similar. But even with the tail folded, toms have a few defining features. First of all, there's what's called the beard, although bearded hens are not entirely unknown. Now, unlike my magnificent beard, a tom's beard grows not from its face, but on its chest. Turkey beards are a form of specialized bristle-like feathers called phyloplumes that grow from a follicle on the chest. And every tom's beard is unique. Some are fat, some are scraggly, some toms even have multiple beards. Beards grow longer and often thicker as the bird matures. Young male turkeys called jakes have beards that are only a few inches long, while older males can have a beard that measures up to a foot. Now, secondly, toms have a spur on the back of their leg, which they sometimes use for fighting other males or often to defend against predators. And on a side note, turkeys have very powerful legs, so they can run up to 25 miles an hour. Third, while hens have feathered heads, toms have a featherless reddish-blue head with red throat and wattles. Which brings us to two of my favorite words of all time, caruncles and snood. Caruncles are the fleshy, wart-like looking growths that cover a tom's head. The major caruncles are on the lower part of the tom's neck. In the springtime, when old Tommy goes a-courtin', these become engorged with blood and they turn a bright red color. Likewise, the snood, which technically is another caruncle, generally looks like a small cone-shaped bump on the crown of the tom's head, almost like a little rhinoceros horn. Ah, but when love is in the air and Tom's passions are aroused, the snood also becomes engorged with blood and may quickly grow up to 6 inches, 15 centimeters or more, hanging down over the Tom's beak. And generally speaking, the longer the snood, the more attractive the Tom is to a hen. When it comes to love amongst the turkeys, snood size matters. Male turkeys, though, are polygamous. They'll mate with as many females as possible. Now, during the mating season, March and April-ish, you can see them displaying for the hens, fanning out their tails, puffing out their feathers, and dragging their wings. Now, while toms will sometimes fight over access to hens, many times they court as a group. And interestingly, studies have shown that toms courting alongside at least one other male fathered 6 more eggs on average than a solitary tom. So, just like humans, I guess it helps to have a wingman, although in the case of turkeys, that's a bit more literal. After mating, the hen will search for a nest site, usually a shallow dirt depression engulfed in woody vegetation. She lays a clutch of between 10 and 14 eggs and incubates them for 28 days. Like many ground nesting birds, turkey chicks, known as poults, are precocial, which is just a fancy word that means they can feed themselves almost immediately, and they'll generally leave the nest accompanied by mom within 24 hours. When we lived in Nebraska, we had a pair of hens with 18 poults between them that would visit our backyard almost daily in the summertime. Now, like other birds in the order Galliformes, including chickens, turkeys are omnivores. Yeah, sure, they eat nuts like acorns, seeds, berries, and other vegetation, but they'll also eat insects, amphibians, worms, baby mice, and even snakes. In fact, turkeys are one of the species that benefit greatly when we have those periodic cicada emergences, feasting on the cicadas that are on the ground at the end of their life cycle. So when you go to the grocery store and you see vegetarian-fed chicken or eggs from vegetarian-fed chickens or vegetarian-fed turkey, you need to understand that these are not vegetarians. They may have been offered a vegetarian feed, but I guarantee they were not adhering to a strict vegetarian diet. Now, turkeys have excellent eyesight during the day, 3 times better than humans, and they can see in color. And they usually forage in the early morning or late afternoon. Interestingly, turkeys are known to forage occasionally alongside deer and squirrels, and there's even some evidence that they play together. But by foraging together, each species helps the other watch for danger with their different senses. Deer with their sense of smell, turkey with that excellent eyesight, and the squirrels providing a lookout from above. But maybe the most distinctive and iconic feature of a turkey is its gobble. That gobble can be heard up to a mile away, 1,600 meters, and it's primarily how toms announce their presence to both hens and competing toms. Toms also emit a low-pitched drumming sound produced by the movement of air in the air sac in their chest, similar to the booming of a prairie chicken. And sometimes they make a sound called a spit that's made by a sharp expulsion of air from this sac. Hens also gobble, but not quite as much. They will, however, yelp to let males know their location. And if you're a turkey hunter, that's the sound a turkey call approximates to draw the tom in. A turkey call, at least the one that was given to me, is a plastic disc with a metal top that you rub with a wooden dowel to approximate that yelp, like so. In addition to gobbling and yelping, turkeys make a variety of other vocalizations, described as clucks, puts, purrs, whines, cackles, and kee-kees. Now, if you're old enough, you might remember a sitcom from the late 70s and early 80s called WKRP in Cincinnati. If you're not familiar, WKRP in Cincinnati was a sitcom about a radio station in Cincinnati, Ohio. Big surprise, I know. But what, you may be asking, does this have to do with turkeys? Well, WKRP in Cincinnati gave us what I would argue is one of the most iconic moments in sitcom history. In this particular episode, the station has a Thanksgiving promotion where it drops live turkeys from a helicopter. And, well, it doesn't end well.
The copter seems to be circling the parking area now. I guess it's looking for a place to land. No, something just came out of the back of the helicopter. It's a dark object. Perhaps a skydiver plummeting to the earth from only 2,000 feet into the air. Second to the third. There's no parachutes yet.
Those can't be skydivers. I can't tell just yet what they are, but...
Oh, my God, they're turkeys! Oh, Johnny, can you get this? Oh, they're crashing to the earth right in front of our eyes! One just went through the windshield of a parked car! This is terrible. The cars running around, pushing each other. Oh, my goodness! Oh, the humanity! Oh, people are running about. The turkeys are hitting the ground like sacks of wet cement.
And it gave us this iconic line,
"As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly."
Now, while it's true that domestic turkeys can't fly, they've been bred to be too heavy, wild turkeys absolutely can fly. In fact, they're fast and agile flyers, at least over short distances. Wild turkeys stick fairly low to the ground, usually under the tree canopy, and only go an average of about 100 yards, 91 meters, with a maximum distance of about a quarter mile, 400 meters. But in those short flights, they can reach speeds up to 55 miles an hour, 88.5 kilometers an hour, which is obviously a great way to escape predators. But they also fly up into the trees when startled or when they want to roost at night. I can tell you from experience that few things in the forest are as startling as a hen and a bunch of poults bursting up unexpectedly from the underbrush. Now, when the first Europeans arrived on the shores of America, there were lots of turkeys to be found. Best estimates put the population at around 10 million. They ranged from as far north as Canada all the way down to Mexico. But our bad habit of destroying habitat and our love of eating turkey was almost the wild turkey's undoing. In spite of numbering in the millions at the time of the Pilgrims, by 1930, habitat loss and hunting had reduced that number to around 30,000. By 1940, they'd been extirpated from Canada and only existed in isolated pockets along the Appalachian Mountains in the United States. Early attempts to reintroduce the turkey into suitable habitat used hand-raised birds, and it was a spectacular failure, since these birds had imprinted on humans and didn't know how to be wild turkeys. So instead, game managers started working to protect and encourage the breeding population of wild turkeys, and then catching surplus birds and relocating them to suitable unoccupied territory. And this proved much more successful. By 1973, the population had grown to 1.3 million. Now it's estimated that there's about 7 million wild turkeys in the United States. All right, some final turkey facts before I send you off to go feast. Domesticated turkeys are not a new thing, not even when those first Europeans arrived in North America. Granted, the ones they encountered weren't domesticated, they were still wild, but still, turkeys were first domesticated by the indigenous people of Mexico around 800 BC, a couple of thousand years before the Pilgrims got here. By 200 BC, the indigenous people of what is today the American Southwest had also independently domesticated turkeys. I guess a good idea is just a good idea. And throughout its range, the wild turkey played a significant role in the cultures of many Native American tribes. The feathers of turkeys were used in rituals and headgear of many tribes. For example, turkey is one of the Navajo's sacred birds, and the Navajo people used feathers and other parts in several traditional ceremonies. Turkey was a favorite meal of many of the eastern tribes, who consumed both the eggs and the meat, including making turkey jerky to preserve the meat and make it last longer. Native people provided or enhanced habitat for turkeys by burning parts of the forest, creating meadows to attract mating birds, and subsequently allowing hunters to have a clear shot. Finally, significant people of several tribes, including the Wampanoag, who are the native people involved in the quote-unquote original Thanksgiving feast, however accurate that piece of history may or may not be, were known to wear turkey feather cloaks. And with that, I'd just like to say that I'm thankful to all of you for listening and supporting this podcast over the last 4+ years. If you want to continue supporting the podcast, well, I'd be thankful for that too. Become a patron. Subscriptions start at just $5 a month. And with 3 paid months, you get some sweet Dispatches from the Forest merch. Find all the details at patreon.com/Dispatches from the Forest. You can make a donation through PayPal using my email address, dispatchesfromtheforest@gmail.com. Also, how you can contact me if you have a question, a comment, or a request for a future episode. If you prefer to be old school and just write a check, that's no problem either. Send me an email and I'll let you know what my mailing address is. Or you can donate using the Cash App and the hashtag ForestNerd. Go check out the merch store at cafepress.com/shop/Dispatches from the Forest. Click on products and find something you like. Finally, follow Dispatches from the Forest on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm your host, Tim the Nature Nerd O'Hara, reminding you to go outside and get dirty. Hey, don't be a turkey. The Dispatches from the Forest podcast is a production of Dispatches from the Forest and may not be used or rebroadcast whole or in part without express written permission.